Welcome back. This is part 2 of Danielle's genetic family pedigree project. The next disease we're going to be looking at is, phenylketonuria, or PKU, as I like to call it, and others call it also. It's characterized by a mutation in a gene for the hepatic enzyme. This leads to an accumulation of phenylalanine. Untreated PKU can lead to mental retardation, seizures, and other various serious medical problems. If it's treated, it is treated by a diet supplemented by a medical formula containing amino acids and other nutrients. If diagnosed early and treated well, someone affected can have a normal lifespan with normal mental development. This disease is autosomal recessive as well, as we saw with cystic fibrosis. So once again, we have carriers, because if they receive one affected gene, then they are not affected by the disease, but they are carriers. So in this one, we've got Joseph and Juliet. They are both carriers. They have 3 children, one of whom, the first one, Jan, is affected by the disease, receives both affected genes from her parents, but must have received appropriate treatment because she's healthy and married and has children. So Jan marries Brad, who is completely unaffected. They have 3 children. Nate and Edward are the first 2, and they are both they're both carriers for the disease, but do not have it. Nate marries Macy, and they have a daughter Zoe, neither of which are affected by the disease. Edward marries Delilah, who is also a carrier, and their daughter Lydia is affected by that disease, so she must have received both the affected disease from her parents. And then the third daughter of Jan and Brad is June, who is completely unaffected. The next daughter of Joseph and Juliet is Becky, who is a carrier. She marries Josh, who is also a carrier, and they have 2 children, Sam and Ryan, who both inherited good genes, unaffected genes from both parents, so they are completely unaffected. Then the last child is Josh, who marries Laura, who is a carrier for the disease. They have Ava, who is also a carrier, and then she marries Drew, who is a carrier, and they have this son who is affected by the disease. Once again, we see here that it skips generations from Jan over there down to Lydia. That is, once again, common, and it can be a little bit frightening because you don't know if you're a carrier or not, because you don't show the symptoms for it. And so if you don't know that it's in your family, and it can happen to anyone. Genetic testing is useful if you're worried about that. Okay, the next one we're going to talk about is hemophilia. This is inherited in an X-linked recessive pattern. Hemophilia is an inability for the body to normally control blood clotting. It occurs in about 1 in every 5 to 10,000 male births. It is much more common in males because of the nature of its inheritance. X-linked recessive means that it appears on the X chromosome, and since males have an X and a Y, they only have 1 X chromosome, so if it happens to show up on that X, then they're guaranteed to get that disease. On the other hand, for women have 2 X chromosomes, and so if they receive 1 affected but 1 unaffected gene, they will not be affected, or they will not inherit the disease. So we can look at our little chart here. We've got Farrell and Susan. Farrell is completely unaffected, and Susan is a carrier for it, so she obviously doesn't know that she has a disease, or that she's a carrier probably, unless she's had genetic testing. They have 3 children, the first of which gets the disease, Landon. He receives the affected X chromosome from his mother, so he is affected. He marries Rachel, and they have 3 children. Rachel is completely unaffected. They have a daughter who